Oh, Max will be right in the bushes. Let's see. Hello.
How's it going?
Real good.
Oh, look at this. We're like kind of matching. Like I kind of love that. It's like as if we like planned this or something.
You know, I brought up a rose and I'm totally gonna put it on.
Oh my! No, we're like totally gonna be matching. Wait, what's your name? I'm sorry.
I'm Jane.
Jane Max.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you. I can put this out. I'm so.
What kind of work do you do?
Well, like right now I'm freelance producing and project managing for market research. But it's like cool market research. It's like they make like documentaries about people and it's like all like qualitative and like they do like ethnographic sort of just like studies and they like want to get to know people. So it's like very like the opposite of what you would like imagine a focus group to be like. Like we actually like hang out with people in person, like spend like multiple days with people and just like really try to like understand things on like a deeper level. Which yeah, like in that industry, like I feel like typically can like seem kind of like shallow and like schmarmy and just like kind of gross.
Yeah, you just get the information you need for the project and that's that and you move on.
It's like, how does this dish soap make you feel?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's like and like somebody's
doesn't.
like getting like $100 and like they're expecting to get like the answers that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And like I think what I like about sort of like our approach and like I've literally wanted to work for this company for like it's very small and like niche.
Yeah.
But like I interviewed there like a year ago.
Yeah.
And it just finally panned out. So I've just been like hustling with that.
Hell yeah.
But I like low-key like peeped your page. So, like so wild. Like how did you know like that like Etch-A-Sketch was like
Well, it was the product of boredom. When I was a kid, my grandma wouldn't let me watch TV when I wanted to, and I had the Etch-A-Sketch in the house, so I just played around with it and then ended up getting really hyper-fixated on it from a young age. And from around age 4 until like I guess now, I'm 30 now, I've pretty much always been using it as an artistic medium. So I guess I put in my like thousands of hours on the toy. Yeah, and so it was totally like an accidental thing I stumbled into. And then with the magic of the internet, I started posting that stuff online and people were like, what the heck? So
I mean, it's definitely like very like niche and like cool.
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
Like, no, it's like, one, it's like impressive, like what you do with it. But like, it's also like something that I haven't seen other people like do.
Yeah. I'm so grateful to have stumbled into something like that because I understand that a lot of people are looking for those kinds of things. And especially in the age of the internet, when so many people feel the pressure to become a brand, I feel so fortunate that, you know, whatever my brand happens to be, it's things that have already been intrinsically about who I was before I ever entered the world of the internet. So it's kind of a strange little natural stumbling into sort of phenomenon. And what about you? Now I heard some of your music. It was super cool.
Wow. Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, music's been fun. It's like, honestly, so I guess it wasn't my first band. I was playing in bands like starting in like early high school.
Yeah.
I started my first band and I like found all the members and I like curated it, whatever. And then I like quit.
Oh.
Like really quickly. And I was just like, yeah, like this isn't really my vibe. And then I started my next band with a couple of the members from my first band, and that was that kind of just like took a life of its own. And a way like I don't know, like I recorded vocals on that when I was like a senior in high school, like a little baby, you know? And then I went off to school because I felt like I had to.
Sure.
And we self-released it while I was there, and then it got picked up over summer vacation.
Yeah.
And I just like, I was like, you know what? I was at like music school, so I was like, why don't I just like pursue that? And I did that. I was like scooping ice cream and like working like weird jobs and just,
What were the names of these first bands?
The first one was the New Originals. And that was kind of like a folky, like there were like
That's a good band name.
I mean, it's
Really
really
good.
actually
like
yeah,
Spinal
I've heard that
Tap.
one.
It wasn't a Spinal Tap reference intentionally,
Yeah.
but like
Oh,
apparently
okay.
it is the Spinal Tap
Oh,
reference.
okay.
Oh, funny.
Sure.
But like,
Yeah.
and then my next band was Yoko and the Onos, which like that was what I was doing for a while, and we
Yeah.
only have that like one record out.
That was my introduction to you, I think. Seeing your shows that way.
Yeah,
I think that's
and
the way we met.
I
for
also
sure.
think that like we had some. I'm not sure if
We've had a lot of
we
mutual
were.
friends.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if like we were introduced or if it was just like more organic. I mean, it's organic regardless.
Yeah, sure. I think I just remember going to your shows and being blown away
Oh, thank
and
you.
thinking, "Wow, that's a powerful voice."
Thank you.
Yeah, some
I love performing. It's,
yeah.
but
It's-
that
it's
been
you're
broke
very
up.
you're a very natural performer, I think.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we actually recently got back together after like 4
Oh.
years of not playing. We had our first show back in like May. So it's
Oh,
like
that's awesome.
yeah, so like life is I always say like life is so wild and like I don't know, like you really can't prepare for anything. You just have to like be ready for whatever might
Yes.
come your way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my whole career is kind of a demonstration of that as well, because I never know what kind of opportunities are going to come. And I do my best to just be ready in that, I have the work to back up what I do and just find myself ready for the opportunity when it comes. But I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
Every day is like a complete mystery to me before I start it. I've been freelancing full time for 6 years, and yeah, thank you. It has been a journey.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things about being a freelancer is meeting other people who have these kind of similar lifestyles, and it's unique. It's unique. I don't use an alarm clock almost ever. Like I just wake up 95% of the time whenever my body is ready. And that is such a luxury that I can count maybe on one hand the number of adults who participate in that luxury that are not unemployed.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where there's this lack of structure, so it requires an incredible amount of self-discipline.
Yep.
And oh my gosh,
How do you
it's a
manage
tough-
that?
yeah.
How did you find your system? Have you found it, and are you continuing to improve it?
Oh man, heavy questions.
That's what
Excellent
I'm,
questions.
I'm working on that. That is what I need the answer to.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, I'm far from perfect in those regards,
Sure.
but I have been working more diligently to introduce structure into my life. And one of the best ways that I found to introduce structure is by introducing structure to my personal life, which forces structure into my work life. I have a boyfriend who is a 9-to-5er, and that has intrinsically forced me to adhere a little bit more to that kind of a lifestyle.
It does, yeah.
But that's healthy for me, because otherwise I am definitely more of a night owl, and I'll just work till 4 a.m. and get up at noon. And it's, there are pros and cons to that. But I find that, I meal plan now. That's like a whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, meal planning.
That's like I'm still, I feel like a real adult because I do that. But
What do you mean by meal planning? Does that involve shopping, or
Yes.
the way you shop, or does that involve like food prep and stuff?
both. So
Okay.
I created this little, basically like a weekly worksheet that I print out every week that has the days of the week, lunch, dinner,
Mhm.
and then like freeze or thaw this. And then every Sunday, my boyfriend and I will sit down, we'll choose all of our meals for the week, we'll assign lunch and dinner slots to them, and then we just follow the schedule. And I have to say, the freedom of feeling like you just have to follow a schedule that's already pre-established is so immeasurable, because every day with freelance, it's like my day is different.
Yeah.
And it is on me to take care of everything. Like,
Yeah.
do I take care of emails? Do I work on a project? Do I, so it's so nice to not have to like finish up the day and be like, now what am I going to do for dinner? So it's a little thing, but that in itself has really like established more structure in my life in a really healthy way.
Yeah, I hear that.
And then I do live streaming now. So Yay! Yeah. And I love the live streaming. It's really fun. It allows me, as a freelancer, an opportunity to interact with people. I love people. And I spend so much of my day home alone. And so it's like, it's not the same as like in-person interaction like you and I are having right now, but it's still fantastic to be able to talk to people and share my love of art and get to know people and tell like crazy zany stories from my life and have a receptive audience to it. And those I do have on schedule when I'm not in Chicago, when I'm back in Maryland every day at 6 p.m. Eastern. So that forces like everything else in my day to kind of fit into time slots.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. So those are my secrets currently, but there's
6
always...
p.m. where?
I stream from home at 6 p.m.
Oh,
so.
but on what platform?
Oh, on TikTok. Yeah.
Cool.
At Princess Etch. There we go.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Self-promotion.
Yeah. What other mediums of art do you do?
So I have a degree in illustration. So I draw, I paint. I really like working in Sharpies and that kind of thing. I like to doodle, just like creating these little technical illustrations and that kind of stuff, ironically, is sort of my fallback, which I'm very grateful for, that I can kind of just indulge in my illustrations when I want. I get to draw in my sketchbook. I don't feel the pressure to share it on the internet or like commoditize it or monetize it. And I know that's a pretty big luxury as an artist.
I have the same luxury. My sketchbooks are secret.
Yeah.
I don't show that to anybody.
Isn't that awesome?
I'm an idiot clown in my sketchbooks. I'm not who I pretend to be on TV.
I can be quite grotesque in my sketchbooks.
Oh, same. Yeah, really. I let it all out. I let it fly.
And I feel like, well, the thing is, Princess Etch is this very PG-friendly, kind of, I don't know, Mary Poppins-esque kind of persona. And, she is, I refer to her in the third person, even though, that is part of, like, my brand, because she is only a facet of Jane. Jane is more than just an Etch-A-Sketch artist. And I love amplifying that asset or that part of me. Yeah. But Jane likes, for some reason, she's really into drawing like kind of disturbing, crude, grotesque things. And, Princess Etch would never.
No, but it's interesting that you like make that distinction. And I think that's probably really healthy just in general, because I don't know, I think some of it has to do with just the nature of how a lot of people exist on the internet, or sometimes it's also just like what you share with other people, and like when your like public persona, so to speak, and like your private life start to like kind of collide, like it's hard to feel like you can like get a break, you know?
Yes.
And just like making that distinction, I feel like is really important. And what's weird is like I don't feel like I necessarily intentionally take on another persona when I'm on stage. But I definitely feel a different sense of like confidence and power that I don't usually feel in my daily life. And like I definitely feel like in some ways I feel like I'm more of myself on stage than I allow myself to be, just like as I operate in the world. But it's like it's definitely like a different facet, and
cool.
it's
interesting to hear.
No, but it's important, I feel like, to sort of like make the distinction, like, and especially with like Yoko and the Onos, like, because I was fronting that band, like I felt like after like a certain point, like I became Yoko, and like I almost felt like, especially like we came up in like the DIY sort of community, and I used to love going to shows. But then I started like getting like anxiety just talking to people, because like I felt like I didn't know who I was supposed to know or who I already met, or like if what people were necessarily expecting me to be like, because I love people. Like I love people. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people like you. You know.
I can tell you have a very effervescent personality.
I mean, thank you. But I'm also like I'm definitely like a strong ambivert. Like I put myself out there a lot, but I also like I enjoy my alone time. Like
it's important. Everyone needs that.
Yeah.
And where else can you regroup? It's just a thing that humans need, I think.
No, fully.
Where would you find yourself on the extrovert introvert spectrum?
I I was talking about this kind of recently, and I figured I would say that I'm an extrovert because I recognize I need it in order to survive. Not just survive, but to thrive. And I think that if I were naturally an introvert, the way I was when I grew up, I was a quiet kid. I was scared. I was shy, and I was just sort of an outsider and didn't know how to interact with society. And it was like that followed me into teenage years, and that's just who I was. So I don't think that's naturally who I was. I think that's how I was because of my circumstance.
Yeah.
So as an adult, I've come more into being more social, and I've come more into understanding that this is the way you find mentors. This is the way that you find heroes. You find best friends. You find romantic relationships. That's how you need to find all of it. Nothing comes to you. And that extroversion that I kind of forced myself into when I turned 21 was like this, all right, boot camp. I'm putting myself through boot camp. I'm shutting off the TV. I'm turning off M.A.S.H reruns. And
good choice, though.
literally was watching M.A.S.H. And my friend Renee and I made this joke that nothing happens when you stay at home and watch M.A.S.H. So it's like, we kind of just need to shut off M.A.S.H and go out and go do something. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just make yourself do something. And if you don't do that, you sort of backslide.
Yeah.
By you, I mean me at that time.
Sure.
So,
I firmly agree. It's always easier to stay home.
So it took real effort, to break that sort of consciousness of the shy kid out and say, oh, you know what? You actually like people. You like performing. You know.
Yeah, that's particularly impressive to me because I think most people who might have found themselves even situationally in a more introverted space, they stick to that. They don't, they don't rock the boat because it's hard to motivate yourself to get out of your shell.
Definitely.
Do you consider yourself to be like an introvert or?
I would say I think that ambivert is a good word for it too for me because I find that situationally I became an extrovert because I moved a lot as a kid. So it was almost like a survival tactic to make new friends. And I also lived next door to a park. But I also was fearless. I was the kid to go up to the stranger and ask, do you want to play tag? And I didn't care if people found me weird. So I think that was an incredibly valuable asset as a child. And the older I got, the more kind of like recessive I became. I moved more times and found myself going to a high school where everybody already knew each other, and it's so hard to kind of break the mold of cliques. I went to college, and then I found that I was making a lot of really fun friends because we were all kind of on equal footing. None of us knew each other yet, so it felt easier when it was an even playing field. And then I got myself into a relationship where I recessed once again and was rather isolated for years. And after we broke up, I graduated from college. All my friends lived in the suburbs and I had to start over. And so I had to go out, and I probably met you, Adam, at the at gallery openings and such. So it's like when I finally started going out.
I think at one of the
probably one of the Flatiron
Atomic Sketch.
Or Atomic Sketch, yeah.
I think that might be one of the first times we met.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I do remember.
That makes total sense because I feel like the true friends I made in Chicago, I have a few that I've kept in touch with from college because I went to an art school out here. It's the American Academy of Art, teeny tiny little art school.
I dropped out of that school.
Yeah, I won't make any comments on that just because.
A lot of people dropped out of that school.
Yeah. I will say that I don't regret my experience, but it's probably because I have been able to find a career as an artist. I have a lot of friends who are. It was
a good school. They really taught strong traditional skills.
Yeah.
And from there, it's sort of on the artist.
Yeah.
How far can you, where are you going to take these skills? What are you going to use them for?
Exactly. And I think a lot of people were under the assumption that once they got their degrees, that's all they would need to go get that first art job. And
right. Well, yeah. I mean, I remember them recruiting at my high school, and I had never seen or thought of anything like that. All I knew was that I wanted to be an artist when I grew up, and that was like, oh, here's the path. It's knocking on my door. it made sense.
Yeah.
So then we went and saw the school, and it was like, all right.
Yeah, I get it.
Good job on the promotion of the school. And
They hooked me too. They went to my high school too, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh man, this is great.
I mean, I'm not shitting on them. I'm saying
No, it was strong promotion.
that changed my life. It changed the course of my life. I moved to the city, and I
Wow.
never left cities.
Mhm.
You know. So,
Yeah. How do you feel about the city life
I
now?
improved probably 300% in my drawing and painting ability in that school. It's like, okay, yeah, that was worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. The school that we went to, one of the things that I really respected about it was that they had this more kind of classical academic approach to it, whereas a lot of the other big art schools in Chicago took a more modern sort of approach where it was more conceptually based than technically based.
Mm.
And for me, I wanted to be good at a good drafts person. I wanted to develop strong technique in drawing, and that was more important to me than the exploration of concepts and the more nebulous sort of ideals that are held by the more modern art schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt like the more modern art schools, they kind of touted the ideas of talking about state-of-the-art facilities and, you know, trendy sounding career options and such, and you know, 30 different majors, where I felt like, you know, the American Academy of Art was like, it's been doing the same thing for 90 years. It knows what it does. And it felt like the no-nonsense approach to art, which seemed like, oh, utilitarian.
Yeah,
that sounded good. Like, oh, I want to work in
That
art.
was appealing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, I'll develop the concept later.
Yeah.
First I'll learn the language.
Yeah.
But I feel like that sentiment, like, just sort of about, like, the expectations that people, like, have, like, going to, especially art schools. Like, I was at Berklee College of Music, and,
Yeah.
like, I honestly, like, went there because, like, I felt like that was the thing to do after you graduate high school, is you go to college, and, but I was never a
Right.
school person, and, like, I think, in general, I think it's more about what you do after.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to your point from earlier about, like, one, discipline, and just, like, putting in the work to
Yeah.
sort of, like, create opportunities for yourself, and also going into things with the expectation that things aren't always going to be linear, and, like, things
Yes.
might not always happen on the timeline that, like, you might have had in your mind.
Yeah.
And just sort of, like, trust that things will happen the way that they're supposed to if you put in the work, and like,
Yeah.
work hard, be nice to people. Like, I think if you do those two things, like, you'll find your way.
You'll go far.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, I love what you just said about
It's
trust.
work.
Like, because I saw, you know, with every freelance journey, there's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of perceived failure. And oftentimes, years later, what could have been perceived as a failure when you first accomplished the task might end up being the seeds that sprouted to a new opportunity. And just like off the top of my head, I remember I did this one project where I experimented with filming videos for this musician. There was nothing bad about the experience. I enjoyed the project. It was the first time I'd ever experimented with filming my Etch-A-Sketch drawings, and I got paid pretty much diddly squat for it. And after the project was done, I figured, oh, okay, well, I guess that was that. And I often write off those experiences as like, well, you know, I tried. I don't know. But then months and months later, I ended up working for Disney, doing this random project for them. And my contact at Disney was scrolling through my Tumblr, which is terrifying. Thankfully, I was pretty professional on my Tumblr, but
That's good. I was not.
yeah, I don't know how I managed to keep things like PC. I guess I was so concerned about the Princess Etch brand being like Mary Poppins that, you know, I kept things above board. But
I want to ask, when did that begin then? When did the Princess Etch project begin?
oh, great question. I'll finish the Disney story, then I'll tell you all about Princess Etch. Yeah. Basically, he saw the video that I made and said, oh, we need to do this for Disney. And so if it wasn't for the fact that I created that video, like it wouldn't have, even though I thought it was kind of a failure when I did it, it turned into like a really cool experience. But as for Princess Etch, well, back in the MySpace days.
Okay, MySpace. Okay, MySpace.
Yeah, back in like 07, 08, I was around 16 years old, and I Googled other Etch-A-Sketch artists because there's a few of us. It's a very, as you can imagine, small niche community, and boy, does it bring some interesting people into it. It is truly a wonderful cornucopia of very different humans. So I found this guy who is out in LA, and he like informed me that pretty much all Etch-A-Sketch artists have these like brand monikers to themselves. And I was like, I mean, I never thought about that before. I just figured I'd go by Jane, like I'm the Etch-A-Sketch artist. So I sat down and I was like, oh, well, I'm the Etch-A-Sketch girl. And, I sat on that for a couple nights, and I'm like, no, what? I don't want to just be the Etch-A-Sketch girl. Like, what the heck? I could be so much more than just a girl. So that's when I decided Princess Etch-A-Sketch. And so I like gave myself nobility,
With like, you've like kind of referenced like Mary Poppins like a couple times.
Yeah.
And, like, do you think that sort of like whimsical to sort of have like, is that like a big part of your personality, like Jane's personality,
What a great question. What a really great, that's like a heavy hitter. It's one of those things. It's funny. So I'm obsessed with Julie Andrews. She's my favorite actress on the planet. I've seen a bunch of her movies. I've read both her autobiographies. She's magical. And my favorite movie growing up, and to this day, is The Sound of Music, actually. So talk about saccharine, wholesome, pure, And, I was born and raised Catholic, and definitely had a very strong non-denominational Christian phase where I was born again. I got baptized as an adult, went through that whole thing, and I've left the church since then. But for years and years and years, like the concepts of like, purity and innocence and maintaining my, like, I guess like morality in certain ways. Like I try to be the good kid, I guess, and so I think that, that persona of Princess Etch was kind of formed during that chapter in my life. And it's interesting because as I get older, I've had this persona for 14 years. This is like a brand, cool. And I've changed in 14 years. And so is Princess Etch. She's changed a lot. Like even today, I think I dress a lot more kind of like, I don't know, I'd say like flirtatiously than like I would have as a child. I was like very intentionally modest, and I think that, it's kind of an interesting like change in the way that I am. As like a 30-year-old, I'm feeling more comfortable just like being who I want to be. And it's fine. I don't have anybody to answer to. That's the beauty of it. Like I can make Princess Etch who I want her to be. I can make that brand.
You could go the Miley Cyrus route if you want to.
I could come in like a wrecking ball.
But yeah, you could.
I mean, evolution is like important in general as artists. Like I don't know.
How do you feel like your image has evolved over time?
That's a good question. I think I just know myself more than I used to. Like, I started wearing makeup when I was probably like in 8th grade. What's so funny about like hearing you talk about Princess Etch and sort of like really like holding like the wholesome like things in high esteem. I was kind of like the opposite in a weird way. I was kind of a really bad kid. I like wouldn't show up to school, and I was just kind of like rebellious by nature, like growing up. And I remember like in 8th grade, I'd like wear way too much like winged eyeliner, and I like had like a pink mohawk, and I don't know. I'm glad that my parents let me walk around looking like a hot boo-boo mess. Because it gave me time for that, like, experimentation, the trial, the error. And I feel like now, like, especially, like, when it comes to makeup, like, I know my face. I don't really switch things up. Like, I know how I like to see myself.
Yeah.
I've always played with androgyny to a degree. And I've always, like I'm non-binary. And, like, there's days where I definitely like to look in the mirror and feel pretty. More so than anything else. And I don't know, I think just sort of like owning parts about myself that have always like existed, but also like I remember I was out kind of recently. I wasn't even out. It was at my last job where I was casting people to be in like social media ads, and I brought in somebody who I'd known from like sort of queer nightlife or whatever, and he was like, "I love your jacket. Like, didn't you wear that like 6 years ago?"
Oh, wow.
I was like, I don't think that he was trying to be like shady about it. I was like, yeah, I did. I feel like I haven't fully like changed much, but I've definitely grown as a person.
Yeah.
I've evolved, and especially like I really fell into like a more corporate sort of world unintentionally.
Sure.
Which was kind of like an interesting, like I was bagging groceries at Whole Foods, and a creative recruiter at a big ad agency in town was a regular, and after like coming through my line for like a year and with her kids loved me, whatever, and she was like, "This sounds crazy, but would you want to work somewhere else?" And she brought me in as a receptionist, and I interviewed there for 7 months for a receptionist role.
Oh
and
my gosh.
I was there for like 2.5 years, and then I sort of started getting into production, and I think once I started there, I like realized that, well, one, I never thought that I was qualified on paper to work a more like sort of profession, like, and I also just don't see myself as that like buttoned up, like I can be buttoned up, like I have my life together, like I'm not like a mess, you know, but like I am kind of out there for like what you would imagine sort of like a career person to like be like, and I think just sort of like having that awareness of how I might be perceived in different situations definitely stood in the way of me pursuing certain things. And now I just sort of like, I love to learn. Just because you haven't done something before, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. And like, I'm just sort of like, once you have an awareness of like what things are, and like, obviously you don't fully know until you do something every day. But I feel like now I think I'm more confident in a quiet way than I used to be. I think that that's probably the biggest thing that has changed since I started.
That's amazing. It's really cool to hear the way that you talk about like being comfortable with not knowing how to do something and trusting that you're going to learn it. Sometimes I think about how I've been freelancing for so long that I'm almost scared to go consider a 9 to 5 because it's like, well, how do I work for another person again? I haven't done that in years.
Yeah, that's a big ego smack.
Yeah.
I say that much.
Right. Yeah.
I've been working a lot for other people lately, and that was a shift. What
kind of work are you doing for other people?
I work as a scenic painter in TV and movies, so that demands a lot from you. That's 12 to 14-hour days. That's sometimes 7 days a week of that schedule.
Wow.
It demands a lot. It's physical activity and exertion always. So it's like a complete sort of surrender of your life to make this project happen.
Yeah.
That was a big ego hit, but man, was that awesome.
Do you find like any enjoyment from it?
I mean, I find a lot of enjoyment from it, and I have this like checklist every day that I like habit tracker. So painting and drawing are on that list, and I check the box if I painted or drew that day. I still check the box when I go to that job. But, if that says anything about how much I enjoy it still. So it's like I still put it on par with the level of creativity of this. It's sort of like I'm still using this skill set, still activating these pleasure centers in my brain from knowing that this is what I am meant to be doing, according to myself.
No, but it's good to have that awareness.
But yes, I mean, like, it's like I still get that same feeling, you know? So, yeah, I think that sort of realization and that freedom that it's providing me, that level of sacrifice is providing me with the kind of freedom that it seems like such a juvenile kind of realization. I'm kind of a late bloomer, you know, but I think this show is able to be funded by things like that. These paintings behind me, like I paid out of pocket to have a florist design these altars, and I paid for all the materials. I hand stretched the canvases. I built the frames or the stretchers for them in my wood shop that I could have. It's like all these things are able to be done through this kind of work, so I can put the money that I earn back into what I believe in. And I think that's been the biggest sort of eye opener over the past. I don't know. I guess it's been just over a year now since I've been doing this for this. But the skill set is really crazy. Like this weekend, I'm taking a basic construction for basic construction in film and TV, like workshop for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So I'm like, this is going to be another skill set that I've got.
Cool.
This is crazy. So I'm like, okay, this is all very worth it. I'll say immediately, this is not something I want to do forever.
Yeah.
Well, what's like,
but what it can bring the level it can bring this to is like that's what this is about for me.
like, question kind of for everyone. Like,
Yeah.
Like, what's the dream? For,
Whoa.
like, you know, like, you know,
The dream.
like,
Yeah.
in 10 years, 5 years, like, not even, like,
No, that's fair.
when it comes to time, like, what do you want to do when you grow up?
I mean, I just want to paint. I just want to paint portraits, and I want to paint, people, for as long as I live. And they can be narrative paintings. They can be big paintings like the one on the mantle. They could be portraits. They could be, anything. As long as I'm telling the stories of these people, whether I create the narratives or whether they're actually happening. But that's all I want to do. I'm already doing it, and I'm not able to do it with 100% of my time and effort like I would like, and that would be the goal. So I'd like to not have to worry about. I'd like to get out from behind the sales side of things, and I would like to just sort of say, "This is what I make. Take it or leave it. Leave me alone, or say thanks." I don't know. It's like that would be a nice position to be in, and that's going to take some time, but that would be my end goal, just to kind of have the freedom to do the work that I want to do and that I believe in, and sort of step away from the whole marketing aspect of it.
No, that's real.
Yeah. Yeah, I respect that. I feel like, especially since COVID, my dream has been kind of shifting. I always felt before COVID that my dream was as simple as like continue doing what I'm doing, but make it easier. Like, and for me, easier, the concept of easier was always like, okay, well, I could command higher prices for my services. I could spend less time marketing my services that I offer. And for me, I do so many different things. Like, I'll do commissions. I'm teaching workshops a lot this week. I'm doing like all kinds of different stuff, live portraits at events and all that. And, I love all the different things that I get to explore and do. But the problem I think that's so common with freelancers is the peaks and the valleys of income, of the work you're doing, of the interest you have in the projects, and the fulfillment you get from it. So for me, I guess my dream was always as simple as getting to the point where I'm stable enough and comfortable enough that like I don't have to stress about the future as much, or don't have to feel like I'm sacrificing my financial well-being by pursuing my dreams or by pursuing my craft. So yeah, I guess my dreams are always a bit more like utilitarian, like hopefully to continue creating art in some capacity, recognizing that there might be current things that I'm doing with like my Etch-A-Sketch endeavors that I might want to put on the back burner in a few years, and like maybe shift some of my more traditional art back to the front burner. So I'm really open to that like shift. I'd like to travel more. I used to travel a lot pre-COVID, and I'd like that travel to be to more fun, exotic destinations, you know, get out of the country more, even consider like sabbaticals for extended times. Yeah, like being able to really truly experience other places. So, yeah. I mean, other than these kind of nebulous ideas, I don't have any like particular concrete benchmarks for like, you know, I want to make 6 figures or I want to, you know, it's, you know, as long as like the ease of stability kind of comes into the picture. I love the hustle. I think that's one of the reasons why I've been able to freelance for this long. It's exciting to create an opportunity. That's like, there's nothing better than that feeling of like, this thing that I created is what brought these people into my life or brought this cool job or this cool experience. The people I've gotten to meet thanks to the path I've chosen, all that, like, I wouldn't trade those things for the world. So, yeah, my dream is to just be able to sustainably do it without feeling anxiety.
No, that's so real. That's so real, especially freelancing, especially like, and also just being creative people. Like, there's always like that very like real life concern, like just like sustainability, just like, and like, I fully realized like, as y'all were answering, like I like asked a question that like I don't even know the answer to. Like,
sure, I mean, I relate in a sense. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
hopefully our answers gave you some insight.
no, I mean, no, they definitely did, because it's like, I don't know, both of you kind of alluded to the idea of just like wanting comfort and stability to like do what you love, and like I don't know, I like definitely used to have like grander visions for myself than I do now.
Sure.
Yeah.
I definitely like, especially when I was young, like we got signed when I was 19, and I was like a little baby, and like I was like, this is my moment, like I'm gonna be a rock star, and I'm like now like I don't even think I would like, I fully just want, I love performing. I do love performing. I think I definitely want to make sure that I never lose the things that I love. And there was a short period of time where I wasn't even singing as much as I used to sing like every day, and like, and
the
like
worst.
And I
went through that,
and I do think that it was necessary though.
That was not fun.
Yeah, no.
But I agree with that too.
Like I did fully need a break, but after a while it was like, well shit, like there's like this void. And like, I don't know, it's cool now. Like I have 2 projects going on right now. I have Yoko back up, and then I'm in like another project called Duke Davenport. And what's cool about both of the projects is, one, they're both super different from each other. And they kind of exercise different parts of my creativity, but we're also like all like, me and like all my like bandmates and like collaborators like across all the projects, we're like kind of all on the same page, that like we're not trying to put as much pressure on ourselves. Like I just want to make shit I like that I can look back on 10 years from now and be happy with. And then also to kind of echo what y'all were saying, like just like to be able to do that while having more stability and comfort, because like I feel like, I don't know, now that I was working like 9 to 5s for a while, like it's like, oh, it's kind of nice knowing that you'll be able to eat and like, like I don't know, it's like,
and for other people to know they can depend on you, and
like
that's a nice feeling.
To be able to like treat people that they like, that's a really like I love that,
that's,
you know,
that's a nice comfort,
you know, and like I don't want to lose
that's normal, everyone's
no, but I don't know, once again, life's not linear, you have to trust.
Truly. I think it's just one of those things where I look back and I'm really grateful for the path I've had so far, and I'm always really trying to be careful to balance between like, what do I want to do, and like, what have I had the most success doing, and trying to figure out like not trying to compromise my integrity at any point, because it's so easy to try to like do what the people want, especially with social media. Everything is so quantitative. Like everything has a numeric metric associated with what it deems as successful. So it's so easy and intoxicating to want to try to repeat a success, even if it's something that you're not as passionate about. So it's this hard balance between, you know, trying to pursue what I want to do, even if it's not necessarily what my audience wants or what people connect with the most. And then also finding myself like incredibly surprised, especially with live streaming, discovering that people don't necessarily just see me as an art creating robot, you know, like I used to just kind of view myself in my relationship with the internet as like, I input content creation, out pumps likes, you know, and, you know, you feed the algorithm and it gives you engagement, and you can't help but start feeling a bit robotic and like the output you create. And then I started live streaming and I started putting my face in front of the camera with TikTok, and people started connecting with me as a human, like not even necessarily because of my art. They might have like initially found interest in it. And that like, that's a first for me. I've been on the internet for 15 years and forgot that people connect to humanity, not mechanical precision or
weird.
like,
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a beautiful thing to recognize, like, oh my God. And I imagine like when you perform on stage, like you probably really speak to your audience in a way. Like that's why they go to shows. That's why they listen to your music. And I'm trying to lean into that more, recognizing like, it's okay to just be me. It's okay to like, you know, I get that I've crafted a version of myself that I've curated and shared on the internet for a long time, but that's, you know, I can share more of like who I am too. And
which is so important.
Yeah.
Like for you and for people that like care about what you're doing. You know, it's like mutually beneficial for all parties involved, you know?
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, because people that resonate with your art and how you're creating it, like they want to get to know you. And it's so weird though, like, because like the way I've like utilized social media in the past is like, I don't know, like I've always had like wacky styles. So sometimes like I'd like get hit up for like shoots or whatever. And then I use it more so as like a promotional tool. But like I'm such a goofy person, like in my life, you know, but in pictures, like I look like mean, like I like mean mug and like I'm like just like, but like I don't know. Lately I've just been like shit posting a lot more.
Oh,
and
good
just
for
like,
you, man.
yeah, like just like
I respect that freedom.
I've been like posting like pictures of like my frog and just like funny things I see in public, and I'm like, this is like me. This is like what I find funny or like amusing or whatever. And I don't know. I definitely like used to be a lot more wrapped up and like feeling like if something like didn't perform the way like I wanted it to, like taking it personally or just like like if I like it, it's staying up. I don't care. Like, you know, like I mean, it's just been very like freeing for me. But I don't know, like it's also like as you've like sort of been able to discover through your career is like like when you do sort of not necessarily like cater, but like engage in an authentic way with your audience and they resonate with you, it can like lead to monetary opportunities, and it can like it can really be a huge business tool that can like change your life.
100%. I mean, that literally happened to me this year. I came up with this idea on TikTok that went viral. And what was cool about the idea is I didn't come up with it thinking it was going to be a success. It was just a crazy idea I had. I had this idea to try to pay off my student loans with like a very arbitrary, that there's a form of currency called the rose on TikTok. It's like the lowest gift you can send to a live streamer, and it's worth half a US penny. So nobody really treats that as like a serious currency. Well, I decided to like, what if I could pay off my loans like with this ridiculously tiny arbitrary currency. And I calculated it, and I thought it was just a silly novel concept, and it took off. And suddenly people were like caring about me, like thousands of people. People donated, like they would like send me money on PayPal and stuff. Complete strangers, and they're like, "Well, I respect the hustle." And I'm like, I mean, shoot, like far be it for me to stop you, but like, holy cow, like I'm a complete stranger on the internet. I can't believe like I managed to connect with you through like a minute-long video, you know? And like, yeah, people like went out of their way to donate. I paid off those loans in 30 days. Like that was like $14,000.
Get it though. Get it though.
I know.
So
And it's crazy because, and I think what happened was it was an authentic thing. And then like when I finished it, everybody was like, what's next? And I'm like, oh my God, like I don't think I could ever repeat that.
Right.
And the fact that like it happened means that like there's no organic way to like reinvigorate that kind of thing.
Raise more money.
Yeah.
I want a new car.
Yeah. Well, you know, here's the thing. So I talked to my core audience. You know, I have this like audience that joins they stuck around after the journey was complete. Most people, they dropped off. They got it. You know, oh, she did it. All right. Congratulations. Moving on. The internet is fleeting. But there was a core group of, you know, a few hundred people who were like, I'm in this for the long haul. And I'm like, all right, you guys are my audience. And I talked to them and they're like, we really want you to keep streaming. And so I decided to make a new goal. And as one can probably expect, I came off, a lot of people thought I was greedy just for making a goal, because they don't see live streaming as like work. So they don't, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
It's live streaming, in my opinion, especially with the way I do it. It's like digital busking. You know, it's instead of a street corner, it's an internet connection, and anybody who pops in, that's your audience instead of people walking by. But you know, at the end of the day, yeah, it's a really strange relationship to have between you and an audience, because you want to authentically connect with them without the expectation that they're going to throw money at your screen or they're going to put money in your pocket. But there's the very real understanding that, listen, I can't show up for you every day unless this is sustainable. You know, I can't live stream 2 hours a day unless I'm making minimum wage at least.
Yeah. You
know, if I can't give you my time completely for free. So the few who care the most subsidize that. And it's beautiful, because it means that because people are choosing to donate, there are thousands of people who just get to enjoy it for free. And that's super cool. I want my stuff to be accessible. I want my entertainment to be enjoyed by as many people as who want. I want to be able to connect with people and never make them feel pressured to, you know, I never make them feel like I'd only want their money, not their connection. And it's kind of a weird relationship.
And it's a weird balance that you kind of have to maintain, because like you want, as you said, have that authentic connection, but like a girl's gotta eat, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like you have to like maintain your life, and like but it's so interesting that like people like were like, I don't know, making you feel like there was anything shameful about that.
Yeah,
like,
that part's a little frustrating to
well,
hear.
I remember growing up when I was like in my rebellious like high school moment, like one of my favorite bands was the Dresden Dolls.
Yeah.
And like I was like I loved Amanda Palmer.
Sure.
And I remember she like raised $1 million from GoFundMe or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And people like were like ragging on her for it. But it's also just, I don't know, like let artists create. And also like if people want to share a moment with you on stage, let them. Like if people want to give you money, let them. Like who is anyone to as long as you're not like harming anyone, like as long as like everyone feels good about the transaction or the experience, like I don't think it's anyone's place to sort of make you feel a type of way about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sure we can all relate, like, as performers and artists, that, like, people undervalue us significantly. It is our job to advocate for ourselves every day. It doesn't matter how many, trophies I have on my mantelpiece or how many years I've been doing this. Every day I've got people that want discounts or free or, have these gross expectations for, feeling entitled to my time and my energy. And it's my job to advocate for myself. So and on the same token, when I have the audacity to do something like raise funds, people, I truly believe that, like, not only are artists undervalued, but people just, like, don't want artists to succeed. I think a lot of people are understandably bitter about a lot of, especially right now with COVID and everything, but, like, a lot of people are really bitter about aspects of their lives and take to the internet and see people that they perceive to be happy and successful doing something that maybe they never pursued or wanted to do and just never got around to it. And just, there's so much vitriol. And with the anonymity of it all too, I mean, it's
a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster. Especially, like, not even on the internet, but just in general, like, being a public artist is not for the faint of heart. You really need a thick skin because even people, like, I won't say who, but people extremely close to me have been very deferential and very, it could be like an envy thing or something, but just, like, the amount of, like, negativity and, like, pessimistic perspective, like, oh, well, yeah, you're probably not going to do that, or oh, gee, must be nice kind of thing. Like, it's like, man, it's hard to find that. I think that's why community is so important, like finding not necessarily other freelancers, but just, like, a supportive circle of people in your life who actually are rooting for you and not, like, talking behind your back. It's
not hard to find those ones.
Yeah, those are easy to come by.
Look for the ones who are talking behind other people's backs to you.
Yeah, no, fully.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. Like, I think there was a lot in what you just said that, like, I really resonated with. The first thing being sort of, like, when you have the audacity to sort of, like, know your worth to a degree. Like, I remember, like, I just started freelancing and granted, like, this wasn't, like, related to my art, so to speak, but I was, like, working with a local business, or I didn't end up work for the local business because they were essentially telling me that they wanted me to work for free to assess my value.
Oh, geez.
And I was just like, that's not how this works. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
good for you.
Yeah. And
a lot of people would have done that.
Yeah. I was just.
It's so exploitative.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, like, I don't know. I think I'm getting to a certain point in my life where, like, I also feel like sometimes I, like, talk like I'm, like, a grandma or something. Like, I don't know. I think, like, I was so used to, like, earlier on, like, I've been playing music in Chicago now for, like, 11 years, 12 years.
Yeah.
And, like, I was so used to being the baby. Like, I remember, like, even in our, like, earlier band bios, it'd be, like, a group of kids from Chicago. And, like, now I'm 27. I'm, like, grown as hell. And I don't know. I'm really grateful for, like, the experiences, like, the positive, the negative. I think, like, having a thick skin, beyond as a public artist, but just, like, as any, like, creative person that, like, expresses themselves, like, differently or outside of, like, the norm or whatever. Like, it's really hard, but it's very important for, like, self-preservation's sake, for, like, to be able to, like, go to bed with, like, with peace of mind. And, like, I don't know, like, it's one thing that, like, I can, like, proudly say at this point in my life in particular is all of my insecurities stem from myself. And
that's awesome.
And not what other people have told me.
Yeah.
Whether it be people in my world or people in the digital world or whatever.
Wow.
And like, that feels good. Because like, but I can't, like, I honestly can't imagine. And I honestly think that that's part of the reason why I don't know. I'm hesitant to even say like I'm taking my art. I still take it very seriously, but I'm putting like less pressure on myself to make it like my thing.
Yeah.
Because like honestly, like going back to like the introvert conversation, like I do really enjoy like my privacy and my space, and like those earlier experiences on like such a small scale of even like just feeling like I had to interact with people a certain way, just like didn't necessarily like feel like great to me.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, I'm very, there's like a RuPaul quote that like I always say, which is like, you have to have your eyes open enough to follow the stage directions of the universe. And like I feel like that's very much so like what I'm doing at this point in my life is like I know what I enjoy doing. I know that it's important for me to keep those things in my life. But like I also like things will happen the way that they're supposed to happen. I'm not just putting as much like pressure on myself to like be this like person. And I definitely like, and I don't even know how I'll feel about that like a year from now. And like we're all constantly like changing and evolving, and
Yeah.
like I'm like so open to whatever my future looks like, you know. But I'm excited.
That sounds incredibly mature and healthy. It just, I think that you know, just being happy with where you are, and what you said about like your only insecurities come from yourself, like that's incredible. I definitely feel like I've kind of gotten similar to that point where I just feel like, you know, any problems that I have are usually stemmed with just wanting to grow within myself and recognizing my shortcomings and not from the external validation of others. And I think that's especially important to have when it comes to maintaining your integrity as an artist, because if you spend too much time trying to find validation from outside, that's a recipe for compromising everything about yourself in order to try to appease what
But it's also beautiful when it happens organically. Yeah. And like when, like, I don't know, it seems like you found your people that love you for you. And that's so special and so beautiful.
I am so incredibly grateful. And I've had a number of people in my life, especially during my time in Chicago, who helped me to realize in person, like, keep being you, keep rocking it. Like, you're going to find your tribe. And I can look back. I went to my high school reunion. That was a 10-year reunion. I graduated in 2009. So in 2019, I went to my reunion and I had this kind of moment of clarity where it was like, why did I even go? Like, who did I go for?
That's what I'm a little afraid of. I don't know when mine is.
Yeah, I did. It was a total waste of time. I got drunk. I lost my credit card. And I had the same awkward, stilted conversations with the same nerds that I sat next to in a Spanish class that I haven't seen in 12 years because we had, it was like, I don't know. I don't know what possessed me to go. And it was just like, there was nothing illuminating or interesting about that. And I just felt like some weird sort of obligation to
it's a
like
fun activity.
Yeah, it was a, I guess like a.
It's not M.A.S.H, you know.
It's not M.A.S.H. yeah. It was curiosity, I suppose, right? But I did find myself like afterwards shrugging and being like, of course there was nothing rekindled from that. Like, I knew better. I remember what it was like for 4 years. Why did I think tonight was going to be the magical moment when things clicked, you know? And it was honestly kind of reaffirming in a way. It was like, okay, you know what? These weren't my people. I was very lonely during that chapter of my life. And that's okay. I don't have to make them my people. I've moved on. I got out of the state. I made a life for myself. And I'm happy with that life, and I don't need, that particular chapter of my life to, have any meaning beyond the 4 years that it existed. I can just move on.
Don't you feel so bad for people that peaked in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I know so many people that like I perceived And granted, like,
Oh god.
I like
Your friend requests.
I know.
Oh,
Well,
Facebook
beyond that,
fam, yeah.
beyond that, like just like seeing, like I was already Facebook friends with all of them. Like it's not like
Okay.
I'm getting like
Okay,
new
okay.
ones, but like just seeing like the people that I might have perceived as cool and just sort of like seeing what they're up to, it's just like damn. Like
Yeah.
you're still hanging out with like the same people, doing the same things, and I don't know. But I also like had most of my friends were outside of school when I was younger, but like there was a part of me that like I feel like I wanted to belong more when I was a kid, but I also like enjoyed knowing that like I wasn't like I'm not like you, I'm just doing my own thing, I'm living my little life,
Yeah.
you know? And like I
Hell yeah.
enjoyed that when I was a kid, and I feel like now I don't even think about it. It just sort of like exists.
Yeah.
You know? Like I don't think about like
Do you ever get a tinge of it? The desire to fit in?
No.
No?
No.
Dang.
No, I don't.
That's
I
impressive.
personally don't.
I do sometimes.
I think sometimes about how it would make my life more convenient, but I think in my formative years, I felt ostracized from the clique, the normal thing.
Yeah.
And as time went on, I just realized, well, I didn't want anything to do with them after all. And like one of the things, like this to me is like a benign outfit, but like I love to wear just kind of crazy kooky things, and I love it because it's a litmus test. It's a very great way to determine at face value who is and isn't going to be in my life. Like if somebody goes up to me and gives me the stink eye, it's like, thank you so much for letting me know you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Like if my benign choice of, accoutrements or whatever is going to elicit a negative response in you, then like you just saved me any of the time I would have used interacting with you. So in that sense, like, sure, there's like convenience in like normality, but I want nothing to do with it. Other than, I sometimes have to like, when I work for a client, I'm professional, but I want a client to work with me, right? I want a client to work with like, they get the whole package. They're not getting a version of me that is like, packaged in a different way to make them more comfortable.
Well, yeah, and there's also
Great.
power in
Yeah.
kind of being an outlier. And I honestly think a lot of the opportunities I've gotten in my professional career were because I
Yeah.
was unapologetically different, and that I came into things with a different point of view. And like, I don't know, like the idea of like fitting in is actually like really interesting, because like, I don't know, like I like sometimes like will look at like the cool kids in town, and I'm like, I don't know, like I'm happy with my life. I also like, not to sound like a dick, like I'm cool, like I know I'm cool. I don't
Yeah,
need
you're
anyone
Hell
to
yeah,
tell
you're
me
cool,
that.
yeah.
You know, like,
You're cool as
I
shit.
know that, and like I also like I enjoy having like my little tight close circle of people. I like running into people that like I'm not that close to, and being like, oh, it's actually like really great to see you, and it is, like it's not disingenuous. Like I enjoy like running into like peripheral friends or acquaintances like when I'm out and about, but I rarely get FOMO from anything, like, or from seeing anything, or from like seeing like groups of people. Like it's just like, oh, that's great for them, like, I'm like happy with like
that's cool. I get FOMO now that I moved out of Chicago. Holy cow, I get FOMO.
Yeah. Wait, where in Maryland?
Well, your life is much different there. It's gotta be.
It is very different. I now live in it's called Ellicott City. It's a suburb. It's like Boomerville, USA. I moved out there for my boyfriend. He's a sweetheart. And we've got a good thing going out there. But I was in love with Chicago before I moved, and being back here right now, like a stake to the heart. Because of course, like this week, like perfect weather too.
Oh my God,
it's rubbing it into me right now. Like, reminding me of like everything that I idealized and missed about the city. So I get FOMO in the sense that like, damn, I just want to get on a plane and get back to the city. I even get FOMO about like the dumb things that I can romanticize now that were like super shitty when I lived here, like waiting for the CTA bus in 20-degree weather for 40 minutes. Like, man, I remember when I had to walk uphill both ways.
Do you think you'll ever move back?
I don't know. I'm so strangely pragmatic with my boyfriend about. We're both incredibly pragmatic about the future. We always speak in ifs.
Mm-hmm.
We always speak in kind of plausibilities instead of like surefire plans.
Mm-hmm.
He has a concretely established life in Maryland. Work has him there. He plans to buy a home there. I plan to like live in that home with him. We've discussed vague inclinations of the future, but there's always this looming possibility that like it may not be our future. It might be his, and then I might go have mine. And if I were to end things with him, it is very.
That's incredibly mature. Yeah.
No,
it's
it really
mature.
is. Just like you were
we even
calling him mature earlier, and holy shit, that's very much.
You know, he and I, we even recently talked about a cat. Like,
awesome.
Maybe we could acquire
that.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Thank you.
Fully.
Thank you. Well, we've been together for like 5 years too, so that's probably worth. But yeah, we even talked about a cat, but then we realized, well, okay, what would happen if one of us, who acquires the cat if we break up? What the division of assets? Like we're thinking about it on like that level of pragmatic, which I love that about him, and I love that we're able to be that candid with one another because it's like there's no surprises. There's no like, well, are you sure we should do this? So with that said, like he is fully aware that like my heart is in Chicago. And we talk about it, and I'll go through my phases. And right now the solution is like I'm just coming out here more. Like that's the plan. I gotta quench that FOMO.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Like now, if you're doing the workshops while you're in town, that's perfect excuse.
Exactly. Just all I need to do is find enough work out here to like pay for the plane ticket and enough couches to crash on. So yeah.
I don't know, that type of relationship just sounds so special. Like I don't know, especially like I don't know, like love is so interesting, and
it's unique for everybody. It's like I love hearing about other people's, like the way that they cohabitate with others and the way that they do things.
Yeah, like what was so interesting is like, I don't know, like I've had somebody really close to me in my life for 6 years. They moved to New York and we decided like we wouldn't be exclusive while that happened, but like we talk every day and I don't know, it's so what I loved about what I continue to love about like our experience together is how much we've grown up together in this like experience of just like existing in the world together. And like, I don't know, I met them right after I turned 21. And
that's a long time.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, like we were like broke as hell together, like lived sharing a studio apartment. And then we recently like had an experience where it was actually, I think just before that they moved to New York, we were like in a Maybelline campaign together. And like now they're like just like living their like little supermodel life.
Wow.
And, like, I don't know, just like being able to like see, and also like now I'm like some like business woman, and just like seeing, I don't know, like being able to celebrate each other's successes, like even when it's from a distance. And they continue to, like, they were just in town like a couple weeks ago, and like, I don't know, it's cool just having that somebody in your life, like regardless of like what they are, just like that. And it sounds like you've prepared yourself for just like the endless possibilities that this world can throw at you. And I think that's like healthy and that's important.
Yeah, it's super cool that you're able to maintain that companionship. I think at the end of the day, like friendships are hard to come by and they're so important to foster. I feel like all of my best friends live very far away from me. So, I've got my like 10 people on speed dial that we can talk on the phone for like 4 hours and it's magical. And these people mean the world to me. And they're just incredible assets. I've lived in Maryland now for like a year and a half, and for a while, I tried the like Bumble BFF route. If you guys are familiar with that, hopefully you never have to be
Not
familiar with
tried
that. Well, I mean, I never really needed to use such a thing in Chicago because there was just so many things to do and see, and I always just kind of made friends by going out and doing the thing. I think that's the best way. Like you said it earlier, Adam. Like if you sit at home watching M.A.S.H, you're not gonna like meet people. You're not gonna do things. You're not gonna make friends, and I feel like, I fell into that when I moved to Maryland at first because like pandemic was the big excuse. It was a good one. But it was like, well, I'm going to stay home, play it safe. And then I tried to like meet a bunch of these people on the internet, just like through this like dating app turned friendship app. And first off, really weird concept to like right swipe and left swipe like friends. Like that's like I like looking at they're like that doesn't look like they could be a friend. Like
that's intense. I don't know.
Yeah, it's cutthroat.
Yeah.
Like it feels wrong, and I always feel like, well, maybe I could give them a chance. I'm like, I don't know. Who am I to judge? Like, yeah. But then like 30 swipes later.
I guess.
Yeah. I just. It's weird.
Yeah.
But then I found that like, boy, like I would say I have like one legitimate good friend in Maryland, and she's awesome, and I treasure her, and I'm so grateful to have even one. But it has been rough living in the burbs, and like I actually just recently got my driver's license.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's huge. Yeah. And it was a huge like mental block for me as an adult. Like the older I got, the more like shame I felt that like I hadn't crossed off this like bucket list adulthood item. Like, so, moving to Maryland, like I had no choice.
No, fully.
Yeah. Either I was a hermit or I got a license. So I crossed that one off my list, and I still like, it's still a journey going on. Like I still have driving anxiety, and like, that'll get better. The only way to get over it is to do the thing. But
I need to take notes from you. I fully never got my license.
It was scary. It was so scary.
I remember being in driver's ed, like white knuckling the steering wheel, and I would turn to the driver's ed instructor. I'm like, I'm gonna hit someone. I'm like, and he was like,
I'm gonna do
don't.
it.
I know. I'm not because I wanted to. I was just like afraid. I was like, this is like a heavy piece of machinery, and you like turn 15 or whatever, and then it's like, okay, here's the keys.
Yeah,
like, just go for
don't
it.
Kill anybody.
Yeah, no, but I was just like very like nervous, like anxious, and I don't know. I've had some like, especially like, I was like doing recruiting for this like study at work, and I wanted to go to the place that we were actually like our market, whatever.
Yeah.
Because it was close enough, but like I fully like don't know how to drive, so I like had my bandmate. They like paid my bandmate to like drive me to this place to like find a very specific group of people, and it was just like
I know those workarounds well. Yeah, finding other people to drive for you is always a juggling tactic, especially in Chicago. Like you gotta find someone with a car, right? Yeah.
Yup. I mean, I feel like I literally will need to take notes from you on that front.
Well,
like,
I can tell you, when I got my license, the moment the instructor approached me and said you passed, I literally started bawling my eyes out at the wheel. I was like, it was the moment when I realized like, oh my God, I finally can cross this stupid thing off my list. I've like, for so long, I've been like ashamed that I haven't done this thing. And in Chicago, like, I didn't think about it as much because like, this is a beautiful city where you can get around. It may not be the most convenient thing in the world, especially with how the CTA is right now. But like, you can be an autonomous adult without requiring a car. But boy, oh boy, once you leave the city, like you are a sitting duck. You are a burden. Like, or you're dropping $50 on Uber every day.
No,
like
I know that
it's
feeling,
it's rough. So
Going back to visit family, it's always that burden's the word.
Oh God, and having to be like
that's intense. It's like pick me up from the train station, please.
Yeah.
Like drop me off, please. It's like I did not like that feeling. I never liked that.
When I go to Michigan, that's how it always is for me. And I swear to God, my siblings, I'm the youngest of 5. And I swear my siblings treat me like a 17-year-old because that's the last time they like saw me. Because then I moved off to Chicago and then lived there for a decade. And And so I go back home and then it's the same exact thing. Like I have to say, oh, can you pick me up from the bus station? I just got in. And then like I always get stuck everywhere. Oh, like if, you know, one of my sisters is having an episode or something, you know, if she's just having a bad day, like, oh, great. What, am I going to walk 3 miles to my friend's house? Like, I can't just get out of here whenever I want. Like, having that feeling of just, like, constantly, like, not being able to go somewhere and having to ask someone. It's like, it's infantilizing. And I feel like, God, I'm in my late 20s. I'm 30 now. I shouldn't have to be, like, bumming rides anymore, you know? And so, yeah, I haven't done any, like, driving yet on my own. Like, I have the license. I'm terrified to operate the vehicle with no one else in the car. Because I feel like my poor boyfriend, I'm always like, yeah, I could go now, right? Like, yeah. This is a turn on red. Yeah. It said that earlier, right? this is correct, isn't it? He's like, yeah, you got it. I'm like, okay, just to be sure. But yeah, so yeah, it's still a working journey. But yeah, it's hard to like my like hang-ups about driving have really taught me humility and that like I am working really hard to not judge other people for the anxieties they have. Like there are things that come super naturally to me. Like I am fine with talking on the phone. Mm-hmm. And then there are a lot of people that I know personally who can't do that. Right. Or who are just, you know, things that I take for granted that I do all the time. Like I've traveled alone to other countries. Mm-hmm. I've, you know, done things that other people might perceive to be like really difficult to do with ease. And yet, like, I didn't get my license till I was 30. So nobody's a superhero, guys.
Yeah, we all have our things. We have our things, you know?
We all do.
Yeah, I really want to travel more. That's, like, definitely something, like, you talked about earlier and you just brought up again. And, like, that's something, like, I've always known, like, in my life, like, there's like, I love it here, don't get me wrong, like, Chicago is great.
Sure.
But, like, there's so much more out in the world that I want to experience and see and just, like, witness firsthand. And, like, I really hope, I'm gonna manifest it. I'm excited to be able to do that one day.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm excited to just like see the world because like that's something that's always been.
Where would you like to go?
Where do I start? I mean,
where would you like to go first?
I'd say like okay. There's a few. Mm-hmm. Like I'd say UK for sure, just from a music and sort of like culture perspective. Also like Tokyo. Has always...
That would be a good fit, I think.
I mean, it's
an opportunity to meet people.
Oh my God. I remember just being a kid and just looking at pictures and videos and I was just so mesmerized by like the pace of that city and just like... It just seemed so exciting and just like, I don't know. And then also like, I don't know, maybe like... I fully don't know. I definitely like wanted to go to Thailand. I've wanted to go to like Scandinavia. I've wanted to go to Brazil. Like I've wanted to go. There's like so many places that I've like wanted to. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, you go first.
Where would I like to go?
Yeah, where would you like to? Maybe where have you been? I don't know much about.
I've been to the Caribbean, the Dominica, which is this jungle island. That was cool. We stayed there for like 2 weeks in this village. And I've been to Spain and, you know, over the north and the south of Spain, just kind of a few different places.
Wow, I didn't know you'd been to Spain.
Bilbao. I went there after Norway, after I studied there. So
cool.
I was living in Norway and then in Sweden. Then I ended that after I studied by traveling through Spain for, I don't know, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, and then coming back to the States.
Oh, that's so cool, though.
I had a layover in London, and I missed my flight on the way to Norway, though, so I got to say I went there. So I took a train down to see, I don't know, all the things. It was raining, and it was very early morning, and I was just walking around alone. I'm like, oh, there's the Big Ben And so,
Woo!
I think I took a selfie by like a double-decker bus.
Yeah.
I did it.
I
And
was
then,
here.
then I got back on the train to go. And I missed my flights after that. So it's
Whoops.
like, even
Oh
still,
no, was it worth the?
Yeah, they
Okay.
booked me for free on the next flight,
Oh.
so it wasn't long even. So
Oh, that's
that was
awesome.
that was lucky.
Yeah.
But I guess I've been there.
Wow. Yeah.
I did have a coffee at a cafe. I forgot that part. I had a coffee,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
sat down for a minute.
Yeah. No, that's nice. It's nice that you're able to get like a taste of London for a sec at least. You know.
Mhm.
Where have you been?
Well, I've had the fortune of going to a lot of places, thankfully. Yeah. I've and it's really thanks to work. Like growing up, we would go to Ohio in the summer. We'd go to Cedar Point. I loved it, but we never vacationed like anywhere,
Yeah.
you know. So I've been like all over the US. I've been, you know, I've been to like a lot of the major cities in Canada for work. My first ever like out of the continent trip that I ever took was I was around like 22 and I got this really cool opportunity to show my Etch-A-Sketch art at a trade show in Paris. So that was a magical, I felt like it was like a coming of age kind of moment for me because I went there alone and I don't speak French and I didn't have a smartphone and like I just like I got a map and like a French phrase book and just like was alone and I winged it for a week. And it was like I've never put myself so out of my comfort zone before. And it was great and it was fine. And I treasure the moments that I got to have there. And since then, like I got the travel bug after that. It was like, oh, I got to go everywhere. And my boyfriend Kyle and I, we are for the first 4 years we were in a relationship, we were long distance. So we would once a year do it on the cheap. I'm really into like looking for cheap flights and stuff. It's a hobby of mine. So we would like together find like the cheapest way that we could conceivably go to a destination we were both interested in. And it still cost like probably at least $2,000 per person. Not a cheap thing necessarily at all. But we would save for it and we would like focus on doing that every year. And our first year we did Paris. So he took French classes. That was cool. Then we did, what was it? Yeah, London. So we did London afterwards. And then we did Tokyo. Yeah.
Like check.
Yeah.
Wait. So okay. So which?
Yeah.
What's the favorite? Like your favorite?
Okay. Well, I didn't go with Kyle to Barcelona, but that might have been my favorite. So that was like I want to go back to Spain so badly. When you're talking about,
It was pretty special.
I went to Spain to do La Tomatina. So
What is that?
La Tomatina is an annual tomato fight that
I knew it was
takes place.
tomatoes. It had to be.
Yeah, Tomatina.
Like
yeah.
what? Wait, what?
So it's this weird, like, annual tradition that's been going on for hundreds of years in this remote town in Spain. They, like, take their, like, tomato harvests that have expired and they just dump truckloads of them in the streets. And the whole city, like, all the buildings are, like, covered in, scaffolding and stuff to, like, cover them up. And everybody just goes apeshit throwing tomatoes at each other.
That sounds so fun.
It was crazy and I will absolutely never do it again, but I'm so glad I did it. And it was like it's one of those things we learned about it in Spanish class and I'm like, this is wild. And yeah, I learned very quickly that this is something that everybody who does it only does once because everyone I met, they're like, it's my first time. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Okay, so it's like designated. It's not just like everyone in town like randomly.
Right.
Oh,
It's
okay.
people travel out. To
Oh,
go to
okay.
it.
So it's like an event. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I
it's a
was
big
like-
event. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not just
Sounds
like
pretty
a
It's
fun.
one day a
day
year. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a town where that'd be cool though if like there was a place where just like one day every year everyone's fair game, everyone's prepared.
Right. This is.
to-
I think I've seen a movie like this.
Isn't it like The Purge? Isn't
Yeah,
that?
I've fully like never seen that movie, but
I'm
like
familiar with the concept. Yeah.
yeah, no, but like that sounds like higher stakes than what I
Yeah.
imagined. You know?
Yeah, like low stakes tomato fight.
Yeah,
like
That's fair,
something
yeah, yeah.
fun and kind of messy.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah. Well, yeah. In theory, it was incredible. In practice, I spent 2 hours wedged between a wall and two Irishmen, which honestly not bad.
That's pretty
And like, I mean, covered in tomato. Like, and then I had to wait in line for like an hour and a half afterwards to pay a Spaniard to hose me down with water. Like, that's like, they didn't have the infrastructure for showers. So it's like, you get there, you have the fun, you're like, wait a minute. I have a 6-hour bus back to Barcelona and I'm covered in tomatoes. This isn't good. So then you wait in line for like an hour and a half to have a man take a spigot of lukewarm water to like just kind of like douse your body. But that's the magic of travel, right? Like,
pretty fun.
you get the selfie, it looks amazing, and then you hear the story of the like 6-hour grueling hike that like downpoured or something to get there. So, yeah, I loved it. And then Tokyo, Tokyo was everything I wanted it to be. So, I mean, I was so scared before I went that I was going to be disappointed because it spent like my whole life, like, you know, idealizing and romanticizing it and recognizing like my ideals are not going to be how it is. But going was just, it was so fun. And I'm really into a lot of like Japanese fashion and stuff. So like, to go to Harajuku was
Yeah,
so
right?
amazing.
This sounds so dumb, but like, there's a part of me that just like wants to go like thrifting everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we're just like,
around the world, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my God.
In Spain, we went to an amazing thrift shop that it was pretty unbelievable. Like the amount of 70s stuff and little accessories that they had, it was so cool.
Like that just sounds like the dream.
It was
to
like
me.
effortless.
Yeah.
The way that they had it just out, it's just like, okay, this is just the way this place is.
Magical.
It was very, very cool feeling.
Where do you want to go?
Where do I want to go? Well, I haven't been to Italy. I think Italy would be really cool. And then I only got to do a little bit of Spain. And I took like a few years of Spanish and was really passionate about it. And I like really grew to love the language. And so that week that I spent in Barcelona speaking Spanish was just like so incredible and like everything I wanted it to be. And it was so fun. And the locals were just so incredibly nice and like patient with me, as I'm sure I bastardized their language, but like appreciative that I was trying, and I just felt so welcomed, and it was incredible. So like I would kill to go back to Spain or to see some of South America. Like I know Spanish is different there, but like the cultures are so fascinating, and I've never been. So yeah, like pretty much anywhere in South America would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's I remember like I grew up in Buffalo, and I remember the first time I went to the West Coast, like for music stuff, and I was just so like mesmerized by like everything, and I was like, I feel like I'm in like a movie or something, especially like in LA, and like that whole city just feels like a movie set.
It really does.
And I'm just like, I'm so used to like flat landscapes and just like, I mean, I'm sure like
It's magical there, isn't it?
the art, the landscapes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the mountains, like stunning.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I just like looking at photos of like the architecture in other places, like just everything just seems so stunning, and I just feel like I'm so like wide-eyed and just like wow, like
Yeah.
I like. But I also love like people, and I do wanna. I mean, I say this, but I did take Spanish and I was really bad at it. But I just like want to get to know people everywhere I go, and like, I don't know, like, I definitely like people close to me, like, or while they're getting to know me, like, almost everyone in my life has like made comments about just how I like talk it up with literally everyone. Like I like don't care who you are. I don't care if you don't have a pot to piss in. I don't care like if like I'll talk to everyone the same.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. That's like something that like I wish I could do when I travel internationally. It's just like communicate proficiently and just be able to like make those human connections.
I'm working on that myself.
Learning languages,
learning to communicate, learning to
the human connection.
Yeah, that's the nature of the show. I think I want to improve as a human being.
Oh,
well, I'd like to become less judgmental. I'd like to be a better communicator. I'd like that's my agenda going in. So that's the way I want this to go.
What sparked that journey for you?
I have a history of being a very judgmental person.
Mm.
So I've been an outsider, and to kind of keep my gate and keep control, feel like I had power, it was like, no, you're not good enough. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like, or like something you're doing that rubs me the wrong way. Or it's like, you're not coming into my home. It's like, you'll never come to my home. Or, you know what I mean? Like, sort of categorizing like that in order to sort of give myself the feeling of power. That's not 100% my motivation here. I'm not that bad. but I think, you know, I recognize that I need to be more present. And I'd like to listen to different people and their perspectives. That's my main motivation outside of, you know, painting a portrait and kind of entering this like high stress brain that I treasure so much.
I think I like what you said. I think one thing that I'm trying to work on more is recognizing that you can learn from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, especially because I came from this like kind of toxic sort of academic background of like, when I was in school, I always tried to be the top of the class kind of thing. And I think there was an inherent, going back to like the social media thing, like that quantitative quality of like, you can measure intelligence by a numeric grade, which I don't believe anymore. Intelligence is so much more nuanced than textbook knowledge.
Right.
And kind of training that out of me and recognizing that, like, one, I'm not the smartest person in the room, and two, like, I'm probably often the dumbest person in the room, right? And that's like,
no, you're not.
Good.
I'm the dumbest person.
No,
I am. but recognizing like that's a really good thing to be too. Like just we're all the dumbest person in the room when it comes to something, and like
yes,
and learning, like, my new friend, I doubt she'll listen to this, but if she does, like, this is a huge compliment I'm about to give to you. I'll keep her name out of it. But one of my favorite things about her is that she asks questions all the time when she doesn't understand something. Mm. And there's a lot of things that she's just like, you know, I'll say a word and she'll be like, oh, what does that word mean? And it's so like refreshing and awesome, because I think the older we get, the easier it is to like stay closed off and like pretend you know what's going on all the time. And it's a self-preservation thing to feel like you can't make a mistake. You can't admit that like you don't know a thing. And, you know, when you admit that you don't know a thing, the way that people respond like is also a really good litmus test for like, you know, if you say like, right. what did you say about that? And they're like, you don't know. Then it's like, oh, then you suck. But like, you know, if you say, well, I don't know what that is. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, let me tell you about it.
Let me teach you.
Yeah. Right. And so I think, you know, the older I get, and more recently, I'm recognizing like the value of, like, yeah, admitting when I don't know things, but also like recognizing that like I can learn from everyone. And it's really good because it means that like I'm not the top of the class anymore. and art school really helped me with that, because art school became less about grades didn't really matter anymore. It was about just improving your work. And suddenly I went from like top of the pack in my local high school to like fair middling at best. And it was like, oh, this humbling is good for me. This is very good for me to recognize, like, you know,
important stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
The hierarchy's real.
Yeah.
So on that note, I've just finished the painting. And we're also just about out of time. So it's perfect timing. Wonderful sort of time frame to keep things tight. And I hope you enjoy it. So,
well, that flew by.
Oh my gosh. Can we walk around?
I'm going to get you on film.
Yeah.
Coming around to look at the painting. You'll see yourself on camera.
Okay. Should we walk around that way?
Yeah, and I'll see where you're
this way?
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you go first.
Okay.
Even though, like, that's more difficult. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, this is so cute. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Look at us with our little berets.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
This one was
we
pretty
fully, like, we planned
was pretty good.
then we coordinate now. But, like, this is so stunning. I don't know.
I feel like that's me. Like, I could tell it's my pose, like my candor.
I forgot your necklace.
Oh, well, that's
I'll put it in before
okay.
just
You'll
before
put
you
it
enter.
in. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is so cute.
Yeah.
This is so
I
cute.
This was a very
And
electric
also,
one.
this
This was
like-
very electric and very developed. I think you
Yeah.
know this was cool.
Oh my god, Adam.
I love
Yeah.
this so much.
Same. And it
You
also
captured this moment.
Yeah,
and this was
I
so
love it
beautiful.
much.
Like it was like lovely talking to you, and like I don't know, and it also like flew by. Like I, don't know,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Sometimes like when I've been like interviewed like in the past, I'm like so conscious
Yeah.
of just everything, and I
Yeah.
don't know, it just felt very good to just like chill and just like enjoy conversation.
It felt
and just,
very
like,
free flowing at all times too.
like, I don't know.
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
We didn't
summer.
even have to use these cards one time, but I have these interview cards here.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
if we run out of questions or if we get off onto a point that's just sort of like we're meandering or
Oh,
on a
sure.
tangent or something, I mean I loved our conversation.
Oh
This
my
was so
god, not
great.
this iPad.
Yeah.
Not this iPad.
Yeah, that's the secret. The secret. No, don't reveal the secret.
No, I mean no. I know you just caught me like mid.
No, I didn't even.
I'm very
look at that. I
I'm
looked
very
at that probably
expressive.
2 times.
Oh
That's just that's an in case, you know.
no, but I love
This is lovely.
Adam.
It's so
Oh, this is so
expressive too. Just the way that the paint strokes are on the canvas and everything. The
I
color
used
palette.
2 brushes for this. So
Yeah.
so you know how you're not supposed to paint everybody with the same brush is the expression I think that I've heard. So I literally paint everybody with the same brush. in the show, which is a 1-inch flat brush.
Wow.
It's a hog hair bristle or something like that. Yeah, natural bristle.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
All right, well,
This is beautiful. And it was a beautiful moment that you crafted for us. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for that, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
yes, this is pretty awesome. Yeah, good one. Good on, guys. I think that I'm going to
I like it.
figure out the right thing to say. Oh yeah, that's a good one. We can close that way, right?
Yeah.
All right, that was painting everybody, and it was done with everybody for everybody.
That's like, holy shit, like you're so talented. And also
so
just like
sweet.
unique. And what was refreshing was that like uniqueness was paralleled like in our conversation. And like
Oh.
you have like, you're really sweet and you have like this whimsy to you that feels
Thank
like really
you.
genuine and authentic and it's refreshing,
Thank you.
know?
You're
Yeah.
a beautiful soul.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm so glad to have met you.
Likewise, like
Yeah.
fully likewise, and let me know when you're in. Oh, Adam with the
How lucky
camera.
am I?
Adam with the camera.
How lucky am I?